Naham manye suvedeti no na vedeti vedacha. Yo nastatveda tatveda no na vedeti vedacha. Naham manye suvedeti no na vedeti vedacha. Yo nastadveda tadveda no na vedeti vedacha. So the disciple, in contrary to what the Guru has said, the disciple proclaims the truth. How does he say so? I do not think I know well enough. Not that I do not know, I know for certain. He amongst us knows that, knows that. He amongst us who does not know thus also knows. Yonas tadveda tadveda, nona vedeti vedacha. Now, now how are you to make sense of it? Now, what you must be prepared, what you must understand here, that the Shastras are speaking the language of contradiction. That is the style of the Shastras. The Shastras speak the language of contradiction. Only objective of speaking the language of contradiction is just to make us think. The only idea behind making such incoherent statements, two statements directly contradicting each other, the only reason why they speak that language of contradiction is the only objective is to make us think. And it not that they did not know or they don't have the art of communicating. The only objective is to help us grow spiritually, to help us evolve. If they have not done in this style, we would not have originally thought, or we wouldn't have had the opportunity to put in that self-effort or sadhana or abhyasa. If it is spoon-fed in layman's term, if it is just given in simple terms that you can understand, it makes it very, very easy, but then you don't grow spiritually. So in a way, my job is to make you understand. There, the style of the gurus, they didn't bother. They said, we speak the truth, it's for you to go and understand. But I'll have to speak in a different style now. If I continue to maintain that stance, I do not know whether we have the capacity, I'm including myself in it, please, whether we have the capacity to originally make sense out of what they're saying. Now, so the Guru caution, here the disciple understands the caution by the Guru, and he submits to the Guru that he has actually attained that state of self-realization. And he gives out his experience, he dramatizes it in his own way. And you see, when you're trying to explain, language breaks as well. You're not able to express the inexpressible. And listening to all this subtle teachings, I've said some Western critics, many of them actually have said this is all blabbering of humanity. All blabbering, these fellows don't know what they're talking, and you're trying to rack your head with it, trying to make sense. It is sad that they don't understand the grandeur of what is said here. Now, let's break up the verse into first half and second half. The first half of the verse, he says, I do not think I know well enough, Not that I do not know, I know for certain. Naham manye suvedeti, nona vedeti vedacha. Now, the best way to understand, I do not think I know well, not that I do not know, I know for certain. Now, how to explain this? So, what I have actually done is to make it easier for you all. Okay, are you all able to see this? Okay. Now, the best way to understand this is to add that additional word, which is actually in brackets. It is put in red. So if you insert that, the understanding becomes much, much, much easier. Otherwise, I may say it, you may capture it, but chances are you'll misunderstand it. So when he says, I do not think I know well enough. So the first line when he says, I do not think I know well enough, means he says, I don't think I know it objectively. Now, what the word objectively means, it is something which is to bring down that experience of God to a state of an objectful experience. Not that I do not know, I know for certain. Means it is not that God is an object of perception, object of emotion, or object of thought, but God is a subjective becoming. So I have experienced it within me. It is not an object, but I have realized it. It is a subject within. I know for certain it's a subjective apprehension. I have gained it subjectively. So I do not think I know well enough. It's objectively, not that I do not know. I know for certain that it is subjective. He amongst us knows that, knows that. He amongst us who does not know also knows. So just insert the word objective and subjective wherever required, the understanding becomes clear, isn't it? Otherwise, you don't know what they're saying. So I do not think I know well enough. I do not know it objectively. Go back to the strong repetition, reiteration of the concept. God is not, God can't be seen by the eyes, God can't be heard by the ears, God can't be felt by the mind, God can't be understood by the intellect. He reiterated it 5 times. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. That alone is God. It's not what you see, that which enables you to see. It's not what you hear, that which enables you to hear. It's not what you feel, that which enables you to feel. So he said that. Now here he is using that same language. So if you remember that, it becomes very easy to understand. Now, the second half. Are you all okay so far? Just put the word object to subjective. It becomes easier. The next mantra, it'll be a little challenging because there's a more intense usage of it, but you get into that, it becomes easy. Okay. Now, the second half, he says, he amongst us knows that, knows that. Means there are people who have attained realization. So the student is saying, Guruji, it's you and me, both have attained realization. I know that you have attained, you know that I've attained. So let's be very clear with that. Look at the shot of arrogance. I've attained that state. I know it. And so he amongst us who knows that, knows that. He amongst us does not know. Means there are rest of us, rest of them here who have not attained realization. They also know. Know what? So the question is, a person it's easier for us to understand a person who's attained realization to know what that state of the self is, isn't it? But a person who has not attained, what is the difference between a person who says it's 90% realized, but he's not attained that moksha, he's not attained liberation. He's reached 90% evolved spiritual state. What's the difference? We're not talking of a person who is unaware. Huh? We're talking of a person, when he says he amongst us who does not know, means who has not attained that realization. He also knows. Knows what? So what is the difference between a person enlightened vis-a-vis a person, let's say, 10 units short of realization? What is the difference? The self, the Atman, which is understood as the enlivening principle. If you understand the Atman here to be that which enlivens, Atman is enlivening your knowledge, Atman is also enlivening your ignorance. You claim to know what you know. How do you know what you know? It is the Atman that enlivens your knowing. How do you claim to know what you do not know? It is the very Atman that enlivens you to be aware of what you do not know. Isn't it? So, Atman is enlivening your knowledge. Atman is also enlivening your ignorance. So, those who are not realized, they are also aware of that the consciousness is enlivening. They may not have realized it, but they know that it is the. So innately there is a connection to that consciousness, by which you are aware of your ignorance as well. Like the simple analogy we take, you know my name, you do not know my great-grandfather's name. How is it that you know my name? How is it that you do not know my great-grandfather's name? You are certain, isn't it? Where does that assurance come from? There is that knowing principle. There is that knowing which makes you conscious of your knowledge, which makes you conscious of your ignorance. So when he says, he amongst us who does not know, and the person who knows, both of them are aware of the self. One has experienced it, another has not experienced it, but both of them know that there is the self. So they are able to attribute everything to that consciousness. They are able to attribute to the enlivening principle. It's just a matter of time they'll get there. It's not that it is chalk and cheese, man. They're almost there. So he's giving the benefit of doubt even to those who are clouded and shrouded in ignorance, who are still not attained realization. He says, it's just a matter of time. Nachirena, he says, ere long, they'll get there. So that kind of a spirit or a sentiment you got to take here. So when he says, he amongst us who does not know also knows. Now, purposely, they're only confusing us. Only they're using a language only to make us think, please. Once you're clear with the concept and understanding, it becomes easy to follow the text. Rajima, have you got what the verse is saying, ma? Or not got it?
Not yet, Guruji.
Where is it that you are lost?
In the language of contradiction itself, Guruji.
Which portion?
I do not think I know well enough Not that I do not know, I know for certain. Both those two together, objectively, subjectively, you have said, Guruji. There seems to be some not yet clear, Guruji.
See, when the student says, I do not think I know well, I do not know well what? I do not know well the self. You do not know the self. You cannot know the self objectively. So when he says, I do not know the self, I do not know God as an object of perception, emotion, thought. Because he understands very clearly that God is not some object out there which can be seen, heard, understood, or felt. So he understands that. So when he says, I do not know well, he means it objectively. And then he quickly corrects himself and says, are you okay with that statement? When he says, I do not know well, it means I do not know it objectively. But when he says, not that I do not know, I know for certain, he's assuring that I have actually experienced the self subjectively. You don't have to go outward to see God. He's assuring to the Guru that he's actually gone inward and has unfolded the self. I am not just enamored by your literary composition. I am not enamored by your flowery speech, Guru. It's not an intellectual ecstasy I'm caught up in. I've actually unfolded it within, he's telling to the Guru. So this verse is spoken by the student, assuring the Guru that he has actually experienced the self within him as a subjective experience, as a becoming. So when first line he says, I do not know well, when he says, I do not know well, he says it is not something you can see or perceive, feel, or understand outwardly. So it is not an outward form of experience. And when he says, I know for certain, he says it is an inward form of becoming. It's an inward experience. So he's only trying to say God is not that can be experienced with the body, mind, intellect. God is experienced when it transcends the limitations of the body, mind, and intellect. Okay, right. US.
Yes, Guruji, just trying to digest it.
Where is the difficulty? It should not be
No, when
difficult,
you-
as I said.
No, when he says, I do not think I know well, why do you say it's a objective experience? Objectively, why do you say that?
Objectively means in the as an object of experience.
Then I do not think I know well.
Don't
Let's
go into
do-
the construction of the language.
Okay.
What you must get into is he says, I do not
know
think
well.
I know well. Means I don't think I can gain the experience of the self with my body, mind, and intellect. Does that sentence make sense? I do not think I can gain experience of God with the body, mind, and intellect. Which we are only saying in brackets objectively. Now, is there anything wrong in that statement, even in grammatical?
No.
It makes sense, isn't it? So
Yeah.
for your understanding, replace that sentence with this sentence. I do not think I can experience God with the body, mind, and intellect. But I know, not that I do not know, So then he quickly corrects himself. Not that I do not know, I know for certain. So when he says the next time I know for certain, he says that I have experienced it, I've unfolded it, I have realized it within myself. So in the first statement, he says, I know the limitations of the body, mind, and intellect. In the second statement, he says, I have actually realized the limitless self within, because I know it can't be captured with the limitations of the BMI. I have actually experienced the limitless self within me. I've unfolded it. So he has got the concept, not just intellectually, he actually experienced it. That's what he's trying to say. No, that silence is very concerning to me.
Actually, will we be able to know?
Why are you worried of that now? You just understand what is said, no? Huh? You will, it's like saying, will I know? It's like, your child comes and asks you, your grandchild, comes and asks you, little one asks you, I want to be sure that I will know when I wake up. I want to go to sleep. But how will I know that I have woken up and I want to play with my friends? I don't want to miss my friends because none of my friends are there while I'm sleeping, But I want to wake up. How do I know I'll wake up? Beta, don't worry. When you wake up, you will know. And when you wake up, your friends will be there with you. Don't worry. That is the concern you have, like a child asking, how do I know when will I wake up? Don't worry, go to sleep. When you wake up, you will know that you're woken up. I don't think there should be any doubt, because once you wake up, you don't need the authority of the Shastras or the Gurus to proclaim that state, which is what exactly the Shishya is contradicting the Guru's remarks in the previous mantra, and he's saying, no Guru, I have actually realized the truth. And the next mantra, the Guru endorses what the Shishya claims. So a student goes up to the Guru gives the first part, the 11 mantras, or whatever. How many mantras? 11? Huh? 9 mantras. So the Guru gives up 9 mantras. 9 mantras is enough for the Shishya to realize the self. That's all the Shishya needed. So imagine what is the state of the Shishya. And once he has attained it, he has gone there because he needed that push by the Guru. The Guru gave him that push, that nudge, not even a push, a little nudge, and the Guru, the Shishya has realized. Now, having realized, he doesn't need the assurance of the Guru. The student, that truth is so powerful that you don't rely on any external factor. You become the chain in the Guru Shishya Parampara. You have become a Guru yourself, and that truth shall be carried on. And the job of the Guru is to make sure that you gain that sense of self-sufficiency. So you don't need to go back to the Guru for every small thing. You've got it with you to do it yourself. Isn't it? So once you have gained it, the whole world may be, like the Guru himself is objecting, but he says, I know it for certain. I know it. There's nobody to object this experience of mine. And he knows that it's not just a mere trance. We've already gone through that. It's not even ecstasy. It's not trance. It's not ecstasy. I'm not just lost in the terrestrial realms. I've actually unfolded the transcendental experience. So he knows it. And that is the subtle message we get of the assurances the seeker gets. So there is no need to be insecure or fearful or any ambiguity about that experience. So once you gain it, you gain it. Once you know it, you know it. Once you realize it, there's none to dispute. And I only draw the inspiration from that. Okay. Arunama, All okay? All okay.
Hari Om Guruji, thank you. It's okay. So far, okay.
All right. Okay.
I mean, the
All the-
contradictory part is a bit difficult to understand, but I think sort of I can understand, Guruji. When you think that God is not something that you can explain through your BMI, and then it is a subjective
You can't
experience.
experience. You can't
cannot
experience it through
yeah, you
your mind.
cannot experience through your body, mind, and intellect, but it is a subjective experience. It's not something that you can use language to explain, I suppose. That's what he's
Yes.
trying to convey. That's what I understood from your explanation.
Yeah, it is not a mere limited experience. See, all worldly transactions are experienced by the body, mind, and intellect, isn't it? But transcendental experience cannot be captured by the body, mind, and intellect. There, it is only experienced when it transcends it, and that is what he's saying. Okay. And the second half of the verse, as I've said, the self enlivens both knowledge and ignorance. A person who is enlivened, who is enlightened, understands the self enlivens. A person who is shrouded in ignorance and not realized yet understands the same self enlivens. The only difference is the awareness. Like we are all in relative sense, we all are aware of the consciousness, aren't we? The conscious is that which enlivens. We are aware of it. The only difference between us and a realized soul is we have to unfold it. Okay. So you only get a direction how to contemplate and reflect. Okay.